Hello, he's Matt, I'm Nat, and we got your geek news right here.
And this week, it's a preview of the new Indiana Jones movie,
Dun,
which,
dun, dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, dun, dun.
on its own, the new Indiana Jones movie is kind of a scary term. It's been 18 years
Yeah, it has been
since the
quite
last
a
one.
while since the last one. But really, what's the reason for another Indy movie after that long?
Well, what's the reason for any Indiana Jones movie? I mean, so far we've had the Ark of the Covenant, we've had the Sankara Stones, the Holy Grail, great mythic power items.
And now?
And now we have a crystal skull.
Well, you know what? Indiana seems to need epic items like that. You know, it's an old Hitchcock convention called a MacGuffin that he needs to be questing for with each movie. So.
Now, word has it that George loved the idea of this particular MacGuffin, the crystal skull, for a while. But the trick was getting Indiana Jones himself, Harrison Ford, and Steven Spielberg on board with that as a specific MacGuffin.
Legend says that a crystal skull was stolen from a mythical lost city in the Amazon, supposedly built out of solid gold, guarded by the living dead. Whoever returns the skull to the city temple will be given control over its power.
You know, it refers to the main MacGuffin of the film, which Indiana Jones is going after. You know, we've been trying to get something that has the appropriate B-movie title, but still is what the story is about.
Everybody in the movie who's chasing it assumes that it has great powers and that it can be used ultimately as a weapon, which is always what makes these things juicy for governments. But we don't really know until the end of the movie what are its powers, what can it do.
If you know what a crystal skull traditionally is supposed to be, you'll also know this is a bit more of a sci-fi angle, not so much a religious angle this time for an indie one.
It's got some interesting mythos behind it, with how it was found and where the origins are, so it's kind of interesting. And really, this sci-fi angle works well with the new era for this indie film.
Exactly. We're talking the 50s, the golden age of sci-fi, the nuclear era, McCarthyism, Elvis, everything.
No Nazis?
Yes, no Nazis, but no, we have Russians.
This is pretty much the 50s. You know, the music is Elvis Presley, and it's a whole new era. We're no longer in the 30s anymore, and there's been a couple of decades, almost a couple of decades have passed since we last saw Indy, and we thought that we would take all the trappings and turn them into virtues of the mid-1950s. And when I realized that the strength of Indiana Jones is the way we fashion this for Harrison, not just the MacGuffin, the concept, you know, but fashioning this character to still be Indiana Jones, that was the key for all of us.
Don't touch anything.
Harrison Ford is now a 66-year-old Indiana Jones.
A pretty good-looking 66-year-old at that. Aged pretty well, and really that's as old as Sean Connery was when he played Indy's befuddled old dad in The Last Crusade. Now, this film has to happen because of his old age, not in spite of it. Well, Stallone pulled it off pretty decently in Rocky.
And in Rambo.
Well, Steven Spielberg talks about just how important Harrison Ford is to the success of the Indiana Jones pictures.
Harrison was the center of this piece from the very beginning. The casting of that man to play that role was the most important thing we did, more important than my directing it, all the writers that came in to write all the different episodes. More important than almost the sum of all of its parts was the fact, in my mind, that this series would not have been as successful as it was if it were not for Harrison Ford playing that role.
I hadn't worn the Indiana Jones costume for 18 years. Early in our production process, the costume was sent to my house for me to try on to see, you know, where we would have to change sizes. I put it on and it fit like a glove.
You could take a still from each of the 4 movies of him in the hat and the coat, you know, sort of a full shot. And I don't think he'd be able to figure out which one was which, what movie it was taken from, because he looks just like he did in all the other movies.
The whip came back pretty easily too. I was surprised because it's a relatively uncommon skill, and I wasn't terribly good at it, but I was good enough for show business. When we did it 18 years ago, and I was able to bring it back in a couple of weeks a pretty diligent application.
Damn, I thought that was closer.
So you need Indy, you need a MacGuffin, you need villains.
And you need a great supporting cast.
And huge sets, exotic locations, globe-trotting.
And no CG, George, I'm looking at you.
I really wanted, you know, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to be a blood relative of the previous three. And therefore, it's practical sets, it's all kinds of booby traps, it's all sorts of exotic locations.
They're the most incredible sets I've ever seen. I mean, I haven't been doing this that long, but in the time that I have been doing this, I've never seen anything even remotely close. Even on Transformers, never did we have sets that looked like this, ever. Not even close. They're humongous.
I came out of Star Wars where most of the sets are digital sets, where we didn't build giant sets. We had little tiny sets with blue screen. And Steven said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to do the real deal. And we've done it.
You're a teacher? Part-time.
Indie movies have always been about action, adventure, thrills, and scares.
But Spielberg has somehow managed to make this, you know, a movie that adults don't feel stupid going to. It's a family movie, but adults enjoy them.
Agreed. And doing that in the 80s was an art, I'd say, but repeating that trick today for a modern audience...
That's magic.
Yeah.
And that's magic only Spielberg can pull off.
I think you can see this movie uninformed about who Indiana Jones ever was or is, and absolutely sit there and get this original story handed to you on a sterling silver platter. And I think this is a kind of movie not just for the fans, but for people who don't follow the series and who are young and who don't know what this guy has been through, but are about to witness, and they're going to go along on the ride.
You kind of have to approach this movie as if the others never happened, but in the back of your mind realize that the rules were laid out previously and you still have to stick by them. So it's a bit of a balancing act. I want to be respectful, I want to be mindful, but I also have to write something as if for the first time.
There's a lot of anticipation on the part of the older audience because they loved these when they were young. And they're going to want to hopefully take their kids to it because they are exciting, they are a lot of fun, and the experience is, you know, one of a kind. And we're also trying to promote the film very heavily toward teenagers and young people and introduce them to it.
I know the other three films so well. You can already feel how it's slotting into the canon, and that's really exciting to be part of something that not only is current and you hope will really take off with a generation who doesn't necessarily know the franchise, but also that will last the test of time and sit in the little box set along with the other three films. I mean, I'm completely and utterly stoked to be you know, part of that legacy.
People are always saying there's something for everyone in it, but really Steven's mind works that way. He's built that way. Steven, more so than anybody I've ever known, understands the mass and understands how to make a joke for every single, there's something for everyone. He puts it all in there.
They truly are audience films. They are visceral and emotional and surprising, and it's a great ride.
What's he gonna do now?
I don't think he plans that far ahead.
Oh! I'd cover my ears if I were you.
Oh, when I hear that music, the skeptic inside me is totally shot down by the 8-year-old boy in there.
No, fair. And you know, and this kind of thing can always go either way, but they have a pretty incredible team working on it.
And you know what? It wouldn't have taken 20 years if they weren't doing it perfect.
Well, we'll see, and we'll have a review of it for sure.
It's May 22nd in theaters. We'll probably see it a few times.
And then we'll do a crazy review of it.
Absolutely. There'll be once for the little boy and once for the skeptic, just to be sure. Well, we'll catch you guys at the review, and yeah, enjoy.
Great. Bye.